Welcome to New Sky TV. I'm Susan, and today we've got some exciting content to share with you. The internet went wild. Liu Xiaoxu's single glance captivated netizens. Some said it wasn't acting, it was a heart-wrenching moment. In that moment, the panic and evasiveness in his eyes, like a little boy whose thoughts were being peeped into, were mercilessly captured by the camera. Someone captured that frame and repeatedly enlarged it, exclaiming, "That's not acting, that's love." Guo Yuxin's gentle smile sent Liu Xiaoxu's gaze into a frenzy. Despite trying to restrain himself, he couldn't help but steal glances. That tension, that unconcealed whimsy, was more captivating than any plot twist. Netizens jokingly declared, "Liu Xiaoxu isn't playing a doctor, he's playing a boy in first love." And the most surprising thing was that the two didn't exchange a single sweet word, yet a single glance was enough to send the entire internet into a frenzy. That tug-of-war between them, wanting to get closer but not daring to, was heartwarmingly sweet. Adult love may no longer be a fairy tale, but the genuine, heart-pounding connection between them is even more moving. Some say Guo Yuxin is Liu Xiaoxu's exception, while others say they were simply too immersed in the role. Regardless of truth or falsehood, the emotional resonance of this mutual secret love has already transcended the screen and struck a chord. Because Liu Xiaoxu's eyes concealed not only the character's emotions, but also a touch of unintentional tenderness. That night, I became increasingly mesmerized. Liu Xiaoxu's subtle thoughts were not well concealed at all. When he looked at Guo Yuxin, his eyes paused slightly, his breathing almost stuttering. That wasn't faked, it was the most primal reaction of heartbeat. The camera cut away, and he quickly lowered his head, pretending to sort through the script, even the corners of his mouth trembling slightly. I said to my husband, "Look, he doesn't look like a big star at all, he looks like a little boy trapped by love." My husband smiled and shook his head. "That's what true love reveals, the camera can't deceive." Indeed, the less someone dares to approach, the more they care. Those unintentional glances, tentative attempts, and disguises are the most subtle evidence of love. In the adult world, who hasn't learned to pretend? But it was precisely that moment of panic that revealed his sincerity. Guo Yuxin seemed to notice it, and her smile held a hint of mischief, as if deliberately teasing him. In that moment, the air of ambiguity nearly overflowed the screen. Netizens commented, "These two don't even need lines, they can fall in love with just a glance." I suddenly understood that the so-called exceptional is probably the person who, no matter how rational, can still break down in an instant. Liu Xiaoxu may not have said anything, but his eyes betrayed everything. At that moment, I suddenly felt a little lost. Perhaps this is the most moving form of love, not the grand confession, not the carefully rehearsed dialogue, but the uncontrolled glance, the frantic movements, and the heartbeat he's not even aware of. Liu Xiaoxu's breakdown moment was like a silent confession. Light and shadow flickered across his face, but he desperately tried to conceal the turmoil within. But the more he tried, the less he could hide it. That genuine emotion fell like fine snow on the audience's hearts, melting all pretense with a single touch. Guo Yuxin wasn't unaware of the subtle smile in her eyes, as if to say, "I know you're watching." That unspoken understanding was more ambiguous than 1,000 words. The comments were filled with comments like, "Help! The chemistry is too strong, does he really like her? This isn't acting, this is a live love story." I chuckled inwardly, where is there any purity in the adult world? Yet, in these two people, I saw a long-lost youthfulness and sincerity. That cautious desire to get closer, yet afraid to, is more moving than any sweet romance drama. Perhaps, this is what we miss most, the moment of being captivated by a single glance. Liu Xiaoxu is equally cautious. Every furtive glance, every hasty averted gaze, seemed like a negotiation between himself and others. Should he remain authentic, or succumb to worldly scrutiny? That subtle tension, more weighty than any single line of dialogue, set the audience's heart racing. This seemingly glamorous on-screen couple also has their own defenses in privacy under the public's scrutiny. Online discussion and the clashing of comments threaten to deconstruct reality at a mere performance. Yet, in those moments of furtive glances, averted glances, and smiles, we see their softest, most vulnerable sides. The emotional world of adults is never as simple as a fairy tale, yet these details make it all the more moving. Someone commented, "This isn't acting at all, it's two souls testing each other." Indeed, the ambiguity between Liu Xiaoxu and Guo Yuxin isn't a romance concocted by lines, but rather the true emotions hidden in their eyes, their gestures, their breath. Audiences aren't drawn to the plot, but rather the tension of a momentary breakdown, the thrill of a single glance that tugs at their heartstrings. Love is inherently complex, especially between adults, who desire intimacy yet fear hurt. This is why every subtle interaction is so precious. A furtive glance, an evasive glance, a flicker of panic, is enough to send the entire internet abuzz. The audience understood. Being able to maintain this authenticity under the spotlight and pressure of public opinion is more valuable than any other performance. Taking a further step, can you recall the flirtatious moments fans dug up when Li Xian and Yang Zi collaborated? They similarly sparked an outcry online, with some finding them sweet, others suspecting marketing tactics. After seeing so much of this, I'm beginning to wonder if we're the ones who force celebrities into binary choices, either pure love or sham tactics, when they're just ordinary people struggling under the spotlight. Tactically, their interactions are like a chess game, with every exchange of glances conveying both information and a defensive strategy. Liu Xiaoxu's choice to dodge is a classic example of uncertainty. He craves closeness, yet fears vulnerability, hesitating like a penalty kick in the final minute of a World Cup match. Guo Yuxin, on the other hand, is more of a master ball handler, using a subtle yet subtle approach to test the intensity of responses and seize the initiative. While this pairing doesn't explode with explosive energy, it's full of tension, keeping the audience endlessly anticipating the next move. There's been a lot of online criticism, with hype and tricks becoming standard. Some are embracing the youthful and naive, while die-hard fans are complaining, "Don't fool us." Oh my. Netizens are truly nitpicking at the smallest flaws in others, while turning a blind eye to their own. I often think that social media has become a transparent prison, where everyone acts as a judge, dictating the lives of others while ignoring the crumbling of their own personalities. If life is a marathon, then they're still in the exploratory phase, having yet to find their most comfortable rhythm. Regardless of the outcome, the shyness and struggle in those dodging and subtle gestures are genuine human language, small acts of tenderness that can't be scripted. But isn't patient waiting more respectable than rushing to a conclusion? Psychology tells us that a man will exhibit a flight-approach behavior pattern when facing someone he likes, due to the fear and anxiety that accompanies an uncertain future. Similarly, star athletes can experience nervousness and inaccuracies in crucial moments of competition. For example, LeBron James has publicly acknowledged that season anxiety has impacted his performance, only to find his peak form through training. So, not daring to look directly in the eye is part of growing up. It takes time to digest and understand, and requires the tolerance and support of others to land firmly on the ground. In other words, just like Sun Heung-min's flexible movement and changes of speed to deceive his defensive teammates, the little tricks in their relationship are actually very clever, but they are just difficult for outsiders to detect. If the two of them can one day remove their masks and open their hearts, I believe they must have gone through countless bumps and hardships to cultivate, and this process itself is romantic and precious enough. It turns out that adult love can be so subtle and profound. The next time you see Liu Xiaoxu occasionally stealing glances at Guo Yuxin and then lowering his head to pretend to scroll through his phone, please don't rush to criticize or ridicule him yet. This very clumsiness warms the heart. Liu Xiaoxu offers no grandiose speeches or romantic melodies. His language is limited, yet he conveys his innermost feelings through his eyes, his gestures, even his subtle breaths, genuine and direct, yet tinged with an unconscious shyness. Guo Yuxin may have already understood all this. Her smile, her gentle evasion, seems both a response and a test. Their interaction is like a silent dance, each step filled with ambiguous tension. Watching, the audience feels like they've been swept up in this cautious whirlpool of love, their hearts beating along with the subtle movements on screen. Some say, adult love is too complicated, but it's this clumsiness that makes it feel most real. Indeed, love doesn't need perfect dialogue or carefully choreographed scenes. A clumsy "I love you," even if it's just hidden in the eyes, is enough to make one's heart flutter.